High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. It's Reviting's Wednesday. Oh, did I say Twitter or like X? Anyway, happy Wednesday, everyone. We want to hear what are your wins. If you're here tuning into the comments, let us know, big or small. What's your win for the week? But otherwise, we've got some really great guests and some really awesome topics. You'll be hearing from 3 marketing agency owners tonight. And we're going to be talking about, you guessed it, marketing and marketing agencies. So if that's something that interests you, you are in the right spot. But before we dig in, I have to encourage you to delegate. I wouldn't be where I am with this show if I wasn't delegating. So, in any role, whether you're running a business, you're trying to scale, or you're an employee somewhere, you can probably pass some of the tasks that you're doing on to someone else so that you can focus on the business and not in the business. So use this QR code right here and check out our sponsor for tonight, Cherry Assistant, who is a virtual assistant placement company. So if you can't scan the QR code, you're listening on podcast later on, just go to cherryassistant.com. And if you do reach out to them, let them know that you heard about them through WinsDay for $250 off your first month with a virtual assistant. I couldn't express more about how it's helped me scale. So I just want to encourage others to do that as well. And also just want to encourage people to try High Level. If you haven't heard of High Level, it's a full CRM and marketing automation platform. We use it here internally as a marketing agency platform. So we've white labeled it to app.reviting.com. And then all of our clients get an account. For us, that's awesome. So we can just actually hand them their leads and say, here are all the leads we're bringing in for you. And also schedule all their posts from there, build pages for them, calendars for them. So we help businesses go live on LinkedIn, and we want to build calendar booking pages that are customized for their actual live stream and podcast. So we do all of that in High Level. And if that's something that interests you, you want to try it out. Maybe you're looking for just a solution for yourself, like a CRM and marketing automation platform that doesn't break the bank, because it is only $97 a month on their entry level plan. And that gets you 3 accounts. So I'm on an agency plan. We have multiple accounts on there. But yes, use this QR code, or if you're listening on podcast, just go to reviting.com/high level to get 30 days free on my affiliate link. But yeah, if you're tuning in, give us a comment. Let us know you're here. Keep us honest. We want to know your questions and comments throughout the episode. But without more from me, let me bring on our amazing guests from our episode tonight. We've got Danit here with us, and we also have Jessica. Thank you so much for joining. Awesome.
Hi, good to be here. Thanks so much for having us.
Lovely. Yeah, glad to have you here. And Danit, I know you're all the way in Tel Aviv and it's late there, so we really appreciate you staying up late for us. And I'm going to kick off with you, if you wouldn't mind. We're going to put our clock up as I warned you. If you could just fill in that space telling us about you. So we can all go find you on LinkedIn. We can find your resume, and I encourage everyone watching to go do so because it's quite impressive. But if you could fill in the blanks to tell us the real human you, because people connect with people, not brands, and we wanted to get to know you.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really excited to talk about agency growth and churn reduction and all that great stuff. So my name's Danit. I'm in Tel Aviv right now, but I'm originally from New York, and so I grew up around the brands and all the marketing and Times Square, for example. But that wasn't my initial road that I wanted to lead down. I was very passionate about teaching, and I wanted to be a teacher. And so when I started here, when I moved over to Tel Aviv, I started teaching adults English. And funnily enough, that's how I made my way into marketing, because there was a lot of marketing involved in teaching how to pitch your company, how to present your company, how to negotiate, close deals. So all of that kind of really brought me into the world of marketing. And 8 years ago, I officially transitioned out of teaching into full-time marketing positions. And so since then, I've worked in B2B companies, and today I work in a B2B SaaS service, software as a service company called vcita. And we work heavily with marketing agencies. So I do have a lot of touch points with marketing agencies and with small businesses, which is our like bread and butter in that aspect. And so it's been really interesting ride to kind of get to know the marketing agency world, how they struggle with their clients, kinds of where to take them and how to help them really empower their clients and also unlock revenue and reduce churn.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for filling us in on that. What a journey. I mean, I also didn't start in marketing. I started in politics. So it's interesting always to see how people evolve. But Jessica, we want to know the full life story of you as well. Could you please take the stage and fill in 2 minutes for us?
Of course. Hi, everybody. So glad to be here. I am tuning in from Atlanta, Georgia. So we're a little bit colder than we would like on this side of the earth. So really nice to see you all. The quick and dirty. My name is Jessica Korthuis. I am the co-founder of Her Branding Co. It is the leading marketing educational platform for early stage female founders. But prior to that, I started out in marketing, probably about 15 years ago. My story is I was fired from my corporate job on a Friday and had no backup plan, and then started my first business the following Monday, which was a boutique branding and design agency. And so I built the business completely from scratch. We were a team of 2. We grew to a team of 15 and ended up working with some really great brands like Red Bull, TEDx Women, Girls Who Code, Bloomingdale's, and some other great brands. And I really learned everything about owning a business and marketing by doing, failing, learning, falling on my face, and trying new things. Fast forward, I became a mom in 2016. So that is the title that I wear most proudly. I've got 2 girls who just keep me on my toes, who I love very dearly. And we actually decided, once we decided to have a family, that we were going to fold the agency. It was a time in my life where I knew how to grow the agency, and we all know the demands of clients and really wanting to deliver excellent client work. And I wasn't in a place to be the mother that I wanted and be able to grow the agency. So took some time. I went to work for a global nonprofit that built entrepreneurial ecosystems around the globe, did that for a while, and then finally got back into entrepreneurship, where I developed Her Branding Co., the educational tech platform for early stage founders I mentioned before, which we recently were acquired by a Marcoms agency based in Atlanta, Georgia, called Full Tilt. And that is how I ended up at Full Tilt as our head of learning. So that's my story.
Amazing. I love that entire journey. And I apologize, Layla. I accidentally did some producing there. I'm supposed to not click. Um, but yeah, no, appreciate you sharing all of that. And wow, like being laid off from your job on a Friday, starting a business on a Monday, getting
Mhm.
acquired, like holy cow, like powerhouse marketers.
Been a journey. It's been a long journey. And that was before we had like really good Squarespace templates. You know what I mean? Like we built that crappy website from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. Before AI and
Yeah,
Canva and all the like things.
correct.
Totally. Yes. Yes. Well, now you're here. Started from the bottom. Now you're here. Let's get into that first topic. Chasing the wrong marketing metrics is burning founders out. So, Jessica, I believe this is your topic. Can you kick us off?
Yeah, 100%. So, as I mentioned, my work primarily has been with founders, typically early stage, all the way up to maybe early six figures in revenue. Maybe a better way to say it is solo founders or solo entrepreneurs, or maybe a team of one or two. And I swear, no matter what kind of business it is, whether it's an agency or an e-com business or a B2B business, it doesn't really matter. I always find that founders really suffer from shiny ball syndrome. It's like there's so much to do. And 15 years ago, when I first started in marketing, you could kind of be a jack of all trades. You could be a generalist. And we now know that's not the case, right? So there is just specificity. Everyone is niche, having their specific area of expertise. And marketing is really overwhelming for people. And in fact, I've been surprised over the years. We've actually attracted a lot of marketers to our platform at Her Branding Co. specifically for the reason that they can market someone else's thing really well. But as soon as they try to apply their own learnings to themselves, it's like their brains just aren't clicking. And so, all that to say, what does that mean for burning founders out? There's always so much to do. There's always a new trend to try, a new technology to try. And I really have seen it time and time again. Founders from early stage to founders who've had a business for 15 years and they're, relaunching something into market or doing something new. They really lose the fundamentals. They lose what are the key revenue drivers of the business, and they end up spinning their wheels on experimentation, and at some point the wheels fall off the bus and they end up doing too much. So I think really just figuring out, what is the 70% of your strategy that works, and making sure that you are doubling down on that, spending in that space, making that strategy like as efficient as possible, squeezing the juice out of that lemon as much as you can, and then spending the remainder of your 30% of your time, energy, and resources on experimental strategies. It's really hard as the founder to remember to do that while you're also managing clients. You might be running the books. You're also doing leads and other things. And oh, by the way, we also have lives outside of being business owners. So I think Get back to basics, right? Get back to the fundamentals, understand what's working, double down on revenue and where you can replicate it, and then ruthlessly prioritize that over anything else.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. What might you add to some of that, Danit?
I think that's really, really interesting. And I think to piggyback off of that, I think that the issue that a lot of times happens in agencies that we've seen, that we've talked to, is not necessarily chasing the wrong metrics, or at least they don't know that they're chasing the wrong metrics. I think it's actually a matter of decoding client expectations. We work with small businesses and we work with agencies whose clients are small businesses. And when you're talking about small businesses, or, as Jessica mentioned, the idea of running your business and having to deal with the clients, the follow through, all of the surrounding aspects of running a business. So if we're talking about like the plumbers, the roofers, the beauty salon owners, the accountants who come to agencies for help, they know their business well. They understand how to give really good service to their clients. It's why many consumers prefer them. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that they know marketing. They don't know the jargon. They don't know what they're exactly looking for, what they need. And so what ends up happening is that often agencies have to read between the lines. A client might come in and say, we want exposure. And the agency says done, and they do it. And then what we end up seeing is 3 to 6 months, within the first 3 to 6 months, that client leaves and cites lack of value as their main reason why. And so there's this big disconnect there. And I think the reality is they come in saying they want exposure, but what they really want is money in the bank, deals closed, more sales, So I think that's where the decoding comes in. And I also just want to say that there's another aspect that we've seen from many of our clients is that lead delivery is kind of reaching this, it's like breaking point, I think, at this point. Most small businesses or most agency clients get their leads once a week or once a month or whatever the cadence is, via an Excel sheet or an email usually. And that doesn't give them much time to respond in time to convert that lead. So this is why I think in our last survey, we realized that 36% of small business owners want a dashboard or a push notification that notifies them instantly about the lead. So that will help them to convert faster, which will bring them obviously the results that they're looking for. So I think instead of having to work so hard to prove their value, agency founders, need to understand the bottleneck a little bit more. The issue isn't the lead generation. It isn't the services you're offering. You're great at that. You know what you're doing, and everyone loves that. I think that the issue is the response times and being able to show not engagement, clicks, or leads, but being able to track and prove things like business outcomes, new deals, new appointments, sales uptick. I think that's the important part that will help cement the relationships and burn founders out less.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of that is just so interesting to hear, the responses and what you guys have all learned from that. I know that, I would say I put on LinkedIn. It looks like we are having a LinkedIn issue. By the way, if you're tuning in on LinkedIn, the comments aren't coming through to here to StreamYard. So if you put them in YouTube or Twitch, we'll find them. But, the MQL is dead, and the marketing qualified lead sales just gets bombarded with, all this junk that flies in, that it gets hard to sift through that. I know myself, I do my own sales too. So I see some of it, and, it's just like information overload. So unless I see high intent, which typically means they're in my DMs, like begging to work with me, then I may not be reaching out and following up and doing the best part of my sales. But I think it's really hard in marketing now because we do have this pressure to hand over those leads like that. And we have to get better. And I think when I find that sales is getting burnt out by the leads, it means our strategy is off and we're bringing in the wrong people. So, and then, we need to learn, how do we better educate these people before they fill out the form and come in? How are we getting them in there? What is the intent? How are we introducing them to the client? So I don't know. There's just so much there when it comes to like leads, but I agree. They do want leads and revenue. They may say they want exposure. And, for us as a marketing agency, that's technically what we sell. We cannot guarantee revenue because we are a marketing tactic. You need to have sales involved. There needs to be, because we're doing B2B primarily too. We're not going directly to the cart. And so if your strategy isn't right, if you don't know your message, you don't know your audience, and we start, moving forward with this tactic of building a live stream podcast based on the strategy you're sharing with us and it doesn't work, then it's not going to scale. But I digress. Any last comments on this last topic of metrics? Chasing the wrong marketing metrics is burning founders out. Jessica, I'll pass it on to you since this was your topic.
Yeah, no, I think everything that's said is just really right on. And, gosh, yeah, it's just like, wow. The way that I love to teach it to founders is I think of, you have like marketing and brand and sales, right? And they're all connected. And at one point, the baton has to be passed from one entity to the other. And the way that I love to say it is like, think about as your brand is the sun of a solar system and your marketing are the planets, right? And no two agency owners' businesses are going to have the same solar systems, right? Everybody's brand is going to be unique and different. The sort of crux and core of what you do and your differentiator is different, right? There are so many agencies, there are so many marketers out there, and all of us think that the way we do it is the best way to do it. And that's okay. That's what makes us such a great community. And it's really about understanding what are the unique planets in relationship in your specific solar system. You know, what is your sales cycle? What are your clients like? What is their customer journey from proposal to, you know, next steps? And it just differs so widely based on who you're working with and the work that you're doing. But I think the overall tone is, there is no right way to build a solar system. There's no templated cookie cutter way to do it for your specific agency or your specific business. So again, my point about going back to basics is really stays the same. Even the big brands I've worked with, we typically find that most teams cannot do more than 3 big strategies well at the same time. So that means, what are the 3 planets in your solar system that are churning the most revenue, that are contributing, that have the least amount of friction and the most amount of ROI? And that's really what I advocate that founders do, is to A, know what those planets are, and B, be able to prioritize those planets and make sure that they are spinning as efficiently as they absolutely can before we start, we got 9 planets in our solar system and all of our marketing isn't working together, or it's not running as efficiently as it could. Really understanding what makes your solar system unique and special is really the name of the game, no matter what kind of business you have.
I love that. Yeah, no one has the same solar system. That should be like a t-shirt or like a coffee mug or something.
People have asked me to make some merch for that, so I might do that now.
So good. Well, let's transition a little bit into our second topic, which is churn related, churn proofing your agency, what to do in the first 6 months. So Danit, can you kick us off on this topic?
Yes, absolutely. And this is actually kind of like the crux of my work with agencies is kind of helping them understand ways to churn proof and not just churn proof, but future proof their agencies. And we at vcita, we conduct surveys constantly with specifically small businesses, a lot of times about their digital transformation or their relationships with their marketing agencies. And what we've seen alarmingly is that, over 60% of them churn within 3 to 6 months. That's like the window. So that window becomes like a crucial window for agencies to prove their value to their clients. And unfortunately, the ability to do that is becoming increasingly difficult. You have AI, you have DIY tools, you have significant competition in the market, as Jessica just mentioned. And so now it's more important than ever to differentiate your agency. And I also want to say, AI might cannibalize certain services. It doesn't mean that agencies have to give up and throw up their hands and say, okay, well, AI can do this now, so we don't need to do it. I actually, at vcita, we actually strongly advocate, offer those tools yourself, mixed with your expertise, your niche, your the reason that people come to you, right, as an agency. Those two together are a winning combination to not just churn proof, but also future proof. And the AI, wave right now is becoming more and more popular amongst agencies. We saw that I think nearly 70% of agencies currently offer AI to their clients. So not jumping on that bandwagon also opens an agency up to some risk. So it's this delicate, balance with AI. Adding AI just for AI's sake, just throwing a AI label on there and saying we have it, it's not going to cut it with small business clients specifically. We talked about, agencies needing to cement their value, and in that 6-month window, you have to wow your clients, and that's really important. So where AI would be most useful is in the aspects of their business that they need the most work on. Surprisingly, we recently asked SMBs, agency clients, what they would want their agency to offer. And their responses didn't have everything to do with marketing. Their top 3 responses were brand and online presence services, reporting and analytics, and business management services. So business management tools like a CRM, scheduling, payments, all of that helps them run kind of the admin and the tedious tasks that take up their time of their business, which is what we offer. And so those are the 3, main things that if an agency could include some of those aspects along with the AI that they're looking for. These aren't standalone services. These are it's more of an all-encompassing approach where, these clients are looking to consolidate their vendors, consolidate their software, buy less, and get more value. So to find a solution that would help them run, optimize, and grow their business is really the name of the game in terms of differentiation and churn proofing. And I'm not crazy and completely oblivious to the fact that that's a lot for an agency to take on. But luckily, there are ways around it. There are ways, you could offer it all in-house and develop it. But what we've seen is most agencies don't have the experience to develop that type of solution. So, partnering with a knowledgeable company that allows to do that is really a proven way to achieve that. And that's something that we offer in our partner program, which is called In Tandem by vcita, but we can get into that a little bit later.
Awesome. Yeah, sorry, Layla. I was just clicking. I shouldn't have been clicking. But I like the point you were making in the beginning about kind of having a marketing agency prove their worth. And I believe the stat you mentioned or the time frame you mentioned was within the first 6 months.
3 to 6
and that
months,
it's
yeah.
like closing in and closing in. Like I feel that as a marketing agency owner, like people don't trust you. And, trust is so hard to come by. You build trust not by being nice and the things you say, but it's by outcomes. So understanding their strategy and, really proving to them that you are working and getting them things, because people just don't have that extra budget right now. So I really, really feel that. But Jessica, I'm curious about your take on all of this as well.
Yeah. I love what Danit said about differentiation. The brands that I see, service providers that I see that are really winning right now are those that are solving one problem really well. They're not being all things to all people. They are not trying to offer every single, agency service under the umbrella. They are really going all in on a problem that they know that their ideal clients are struggling with, and they are claiming their stake in the sand. So I think that really speaks to what Danit was saying about differentiation. And yeah, I mean, the number one feedback that I get from founders who come to Her Brand & Co. is, Jess, I am so jaded and burned out. I've been burned before from other marketers who have just given me bad advice, or I spent $10,000 on that strategy and got 0 ROI. And to that, I say, I'm so sorry. And here's a free platform that you can actually see our value, right? So, in the case of Her Brand & Co., we developed our free platform exactly for that reason, because we knew our founders, who are women-owned solopreneurs, don't have a ton of resourcing available, and they have been burned before by bad advice or bad experiences. So for us, bringing down that barrier to entry was really important. So providing a free platform that's super valuable. And, for us, we want their first touch point to feel like we have just given them a real gift. And my end of day brain. In terms of Full Tilt, the agency who acquired us, we are a Marcom's agency specifically with a focus on employer brand, so employer value proposition, which is an interesting, unique space to be. And so again, I'm just, the theme I'm seeing this year, last year, and definitely into this year is people really want their most crucial problems solved, and they want them solved well and quickly. And if they are going to spend anything, they really want their biggest pain point to be solved. So I think, again, it goes back to the basics. What are your clients struggling with? What keeps them up at night? Just because you can do all the marketing services doesn't mean you should. So what are the ones or the select few that you are uniquely positioned to provide and to really win at, and then do that consistently over and over and over again.
Yes. Oh, thank you for saying that. The whole saying the riches are in the niches. It really
Yeah.
is true. It took me 3 years to kind of figure that out, but what we're really good at is helping businesses go live on LinkedIn. It's really that simple. Yeah, like then we take that and we repurpose it to podcast, short form video, and all these things. But it starts on LinkedIn, and that's what makes us unique, and it promotes the podcast in itself. But I was talking about LinkedIn ghostwriting and LinkedIn coaching, and we had the retreat for the women wave warriors. It's just like all these different things, but the LinkedIn Live is the bread and butter and the meat and the potatoes. So now that we're like really recognizing it and talking about it more and more, and really at the end of the day, good marketing, you sound like a broken record. So when we talk more about LinkedIn live streaming, people are getting a better idea. But I'm glad you said that too, because as a marketing agency owner, I find it extremely difficult when we work with a client who is like, I want to cast a wide net and I want to talk to everyone. Because you know what? That sounds really great. And I did that too in the beginning, but it doesn't work. I don't know. Like what would you say, Jessica or Danny, to help like explain to business owners, founders, early founders especially, that you can't cast a wide net. You got to figure out that niche and make it repeatable.
I would say a friend to all is a friend to none. So if you market to all, you market to none. That's what I tell my founders. And yeah, Danit, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But the pushback I get to that is, but I'm scared I'm going to alienate people. And I'm like, that's totally okay. That is absolutely okay. We know from Jeffrey Moore's work and his early adoption model that your early adopters are going to be the critical audience to hypersaturate and to really prove product market fit and service market fit with those early adopters before you can cross the chasm into a bigger market. And while those early adopters are the smallest size of the market that you can go after, they are the most critical. So really focusing on those early adopters, solving that one pain point and going all in on that. You will eventually attract more bees with honey, but you'll win and you'll have better results, because something Danit was talking about earlier is, really setting expectations with your client about what they can expect from you. Yes. And you can do that better whenever you have a very narrow focus in a narrow lane that you are going to own.
Yes, the whole managing expectation thing is huge. This was such a great topic, Danit. Can you just sort of wrap us up on this topic? Well, put it back on screen here just to remind everyone, churn-proofing your agency, what to do in the first 6 months. We've covered a lot here, and it's a good one, Danit. So yeah, can you close us up on this?
Absolutely. So I'd say I'd break it down into like just a few subtopics. The first one would be obviously cementing your value, immediately showing your value as quickly as possible, which ties into what Jessica was just saying about, everyone always says jack of all trades, but they forget the second part of that sentence, which is master of none. So yes, find your niche, find what value you can really bring and really show within those 3 to 6 months. And also decoding the expectations with your clients of understanding what they really need and how you can provide it to them. So, it might be a new tool. It might be a different service that, expands on something that you already do, or it might be your service specifically, but delivered in a different way. If you're at that level where you need to, where you're in the differentiation level. So definitely those are the things that I would look into for churn proofing.
That's so great. Awesome. Thank you so much for closing us out on that. And we have 2 more really great topics we're going to be getting into. Confusion kills conversion in the next, but we'll get to that right after this brief message from Cherry Assistant.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now he has a $50K per month business, fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM on Go High Level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
If you're listening on podcast or audio only right now, we're showing a menu of services they provide, including but not limited to lead generation, CRM management, prospecting assistance, sales presentation preparation, data entry and cleanup, customer support, and project management assistance. So if you're looking for anything like that, reach out to Cherry Assistant. There's a QR code on the screen, or you can just go to cherryassistant.com and get to have a conversation with them. I'm sure there's some bookkeeping or something you're working on that you need to hand off to someone else. But yeah, I highly suggest them. I definitely work with them, and I don't promote brands that I can't verify. So Cherry Assistant is one that I really, really can verify. So I digress. Let's get into our next topic, which is confusion kills conversion. I love this topic. Can you kick us off, Jessica?
Sure. So I love to say, I learned it from my former co-founder, a confused mind says no. I mean, like you cannot get more direct and easy to that. And again, it kind of goes back to a theme we've been circling around here, which is really proving value, being concise, being clear about what you can actually deliver to the client. I find that a lot of founders get into the mode of selling features over results. And oftentimes the bigger we bake the proposals, right, about all of the things that's included, we end up sort of glossing over what is the real ROI that they are paying for. Yes, that's nice that they get a team of 5, or they get an account manager and a dedicated whatever, or a login to something else. Clients are paying for results. So a confused mind says no. And so if we know that in those conversations, you need to, in the qualifying conversations and the sales conversations, you need to understand exactly what their goal is. We talked about that earlier. And then make sure that that goal is being addressed over and over and over again throughout the sales process and into the final conversions. And again, that also sets the account team up for success, because everyone knows what the North Star is that we're all aiming for. And just removing as many mental barriers as possible. There's something I'd love to teach to our founders called the golden path, which is this concept of there's the intent, and then there's the outcome. And then, right, the intention of someone who comes to you or that you get into a conversation with them is the starting point. And then the outcome, right, is where they want to be. Again, this sounds self-explanatory, but I think when you're the business owner, you get, it gets lost in your brain sometimes. And there's many objections that exist in between those 2 points. And so our job as marketers, as the business owners, CMOs, whatever our titles are, in those sales conversations, in the conversion process, we need to make sure that we are getting ahead of those objections up front. So in my conversations with her branding co-founders, the first thing I say to them is, hey, look, like a lot of founders have come to me and they've been jaded and they've had really bad marketing experiences before. The look of complete release that comes over them is so prevalent because I've nailed the objection right up front. All right. I've addressed the elephant in the room immediately. And that then allows them to listen in a deeper and better way and create that relationship up front. It helps us create that trust building from the very, very beginning. So between intent and outcome, understand what those objections are, preemptively talk about those objections, and address the elephant in the room, and then the confusion starts to go down, and that'll get you closer to the yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying all that. So much there to unpack. First and foremost, the whole don't feature dump. So I think for me, it really comes down to remembering that people don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. And in marketing, we are always trying to appeal to their emotions. And it's the same thing in sales and everything else. But, the conversation really needs to, surround around their outcomes, as you were saying, and I think that's so important, is even in the sales call. I always ask when I go on a sales call, like, paint that picture for me. Like, if everything worked out really well, like, what does that look like for you? Because then that does something even to their psychology. It gets them thinking about what we could be doing, and it has them like seeing that. And then you ask them, if you do nothing, then what happens? Like, if you don't act on this right now, like, because that's a really beautiful view and we want to help you get there. But if you do nothing, then what happens? And then, you're kind of switching their train of thought, and they're thinking about sort of the emotional connection to that outcome. And so, like, that's an approach I take. I think it was really interesting what you said. And I think that, like, sort of a way I simplify it in my head is always trying to connect with what they feel, and remembering they're not going to remember what I say in particular. So if I feature dump on them, like, oh, I'm going to give you an app.reveting.com login. That's my high level white labeled. And we're going to be doing this newsletter thing for you. Oh, and by the way, we have a WhatsApp chat where you'll be able to connect with everyone who touches your account here within our agency, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're not going to remember all of that feature dumping. I digress. It's especially bad in SaaS. I also used to work in SaaS, and I help couple SaaS companies. And so feature dumping, it's hard to avoid, but I digress. Danit, what's your take on all this?
I love this conversation so much because I think, look, we're a SaaS company, we're tech, we're all about tech. And so I think that there's an interesting other side to what Jessica just said, what Jesse, you were just talking about, proving your value. Absolutely super important. What I have seen with our agency partners is that the agency's lack of insight into their clients' funnels really makes it difficult to prove attribution, right? So, when you are delivering leads to your clients as an agency, and you don't have any follow-up as to whether or when those leads were contacted, were they converted, did they become loyal repeat customers? Without that information, it gets really hard to not only prove ROI, but also to optimize along the way and get better value to your clients. So I think by simplifying the funnel and assisting clients, with converting their leads and optimizing business processes, agencies can go from like a one-time or a short-term vendor to, long-lasting partners that really will drive results and that their clients can't really afford to leave. If a small business, or if your client is running most of their business operations through your through your platform, your marketing services, everything is connected through you, they're less likely to move on to a competitor. And so not only does that help to retain them for longer, but also agencies that gain that insight into their clients' operations, they can also understand where there are inefficiencies. And as I said, they can work to optimize them and give even more value.
100%. I'm with you there. So I'll let you respond to all of that, Jessica, and sort of wrap us up on this topic of confusion and how it kills conversion.
Yeah, no, I think everything that Danit said was great. I loved your feedback as well. And, it made me think of a conversation we were just having with a potential new client, and Full Tilt specifically, as I mentioned before, does mostly our roster is we work with CHROs, so internal comms, or we work with CMOs and we do external comms. But really our differentiator is the employer brand practice. And as part of a conversation with a potential client, this is a mid-cap company, right? So they're billions in revenue. And I literally asked him, I was like, wave a magic wand, like, what is your ideal outcome? So I just, really want to affirm what you said, Jesse, about that. Whether you're talking to a gigantic company or you're talking to a small business owner, really understanding on a human level for them, what is their ideal outcome for this? And parroting that back to them. And then anything that you are doing should be in service of that outcome.
Yeah. And we just all we can only do the best we can and be good stewards of marketing, because right now there's a trust pandemic in marketing. So it's really extra hard right now. So those outcomes and staying focused on those outcomes, understanding the metrics like we were talking earlier, is all going to help us with that churn that we were also talking about earlier. So I digress. We have one more really awesome topic to get into. Let Layla put it up here on the screen before I click on it. Diversifying your marketing agency's revenue streams. So, Danit, can you kick us off on this final topic?
Absolutely. So this is where our work at vcita really shines. We work with marketing agencies to diversify and unlock new revenue streams that are sustainable, that are long term. And I think the idea here is we're shifting into a world where, especially small business clients, and they're such a large portion of the economy that ignoring them for many agencies is not really an option. So we're shifting into a world where, as I mentioned before, they're consolidating their vendors. They are really looking at things that are going to bring them business outcomes. So looking for an agency that's just going to run a campaign, it's very valuable to them. But if they have to choose between that and a tool that helps them manage their money, or or do anything that really, really, really brings them the outcomes that they're looking for, it's going to be a tough decision to make. And so I think the idea here is not losing focus of your core, but I think it's also expanding to meet the evolving expectations in a natural way for your client base. So for example, at vcita, we have, I mentioned the partner program In Tandem by vcita, and we have a few levels of the program. And one of them is a lead management solution that we offer, a white labeled lead management solution that we offer to marketing agencies, where the leads come in from all the channels into a mini CRM. And then that's where the leads can get managed, they can get converted. And as I mentioned before, then the agency also has the data into the lead, so they can, trip a trigger-based message to their client saying, hey, you've had 3 new leads this week that you didn't reach out to. Maybe now's a good time. And so this will also help, really increase that value. However, that's just one part of it. I think once you implement a solution like a lead management solution, it becomes a natural upgrade to implement a business management solution, for example, for your clients. So they already have the light CRM and they need the payments, the scheduling, the everything else. So that's what we offer is that's a natural step for many marketing agencies that we work with, is to take it from a lead management and then offer that extra added value that their small business clients are really looking for. And we've seen some of our agency partners reduce churn by 10%, increase the usage of their services by over 60%. So it really does, by expanding and diversifying, it really does help agencies to check off more boxes for their clients and keep them around for longer, really.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you sharing all of that. Before I respond, what's your take on all of this, Jessica?
I loved that. So I have a little bit of a different perspective to this, because my first business being a boutique branding and design agency, I learned very quickly how the agency model is like this. You are constantly chasing like a game of cat and mouse. At least that's how it felt to me all those years ago. And I don't think that's changed a lot for agencies. So, when we were trying to figure out our acquisition strategy for Her Branding Co., I never had an agency to be our acquirer as on my bingo card. But after talking to Lisa Tilt, who is the CEO and founder of Full Tilt, we hit it off immediately, because she really saw an area of opportunity for Her Branding Co. to be the scalable revenue engine of Full Tilt, right? So Full Tilt has been around. This is our 20th year this year, which is wild. Great reputation, incredible work, incredible team. And the agency has grown every single year for the last 20 years. However, it still operates on the agency model, which is client services, right? So you beef up teams to anticipate client work, and then you maybe make leaner teams during leaner times. So it is this sort of continual up and down model, whereas her branding co being an educational technology platform really allows for scalability. So I bring this up because this acquisition, I think, is a really interesting story to show how an agency owner saw an opportunity to diversify revenue, to add a completely new revenue stream, to be able to service a customer base that she, the founder, really cared about, but didn't want to build from scratch. So I say all this to say that in terms of diversifying revenue, and specifically for agencies, I think we're on this precipice of there's a new way to build, there's a new way to grow. There's a new way to do business these days. Being an entrepreneur and a business owner we are not operating off of the same game plan and like rule book that we were doing a decade ago. So this idea of like strategic partnerships, it might not be an acquisition per se. In our case, it was, but this idea of strategic partnerships, like this rising tide lifts all boats. I think there really is a place for this in the agency space where there traditionally hasn't been. And I think that there's a way that everybody can win by being able to stay in your lane, be really clear about the value. We keep going back to this all the time. And then also finding out a way to build new revenue streams with other partners or other people in your community who are offering something interesting, unique, and different that you could offer to your clients, and that they could get benefit from you. So yeah, probably maybe a different perspective than one might think about, but I think it's worth bringing up.
Definitely. I always like a different perspective. We did get a good question from Layla in the comments. She said, for Danit, would you recommend all agencies adopt a white label lead magnet system, or only at a certain scale?
Great question. And I also want to say that, strategic partnerships is exactly what, I was describing when I was talking about In Tandem by vcita. And I think when you're looking into implementing something like a white labeled lead management solution, I wouldn't say obviously right away, right off the start, maybe get into that. But once you're at a point where you've established your services and the value and the experience and the expertise that you bring to the table, and you're realizing that, okay, I've got a nice client base now, but I want to either make more money from my existing client base, right? I want to upsell my existing client base, or I want to attract new customers that might not, really necessarily be looking just for my services, but be looking, at agencies that offer different things. I think that would be a perfect time to diversify and expand. Again, it's not, I've recently heard of an agency that, in order to diversify their revenue streams, they started offering event planning. And I was like, oh, that's, little removed. And so I think you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to expand on the original idea, right? And if lead generation and lead delivery is your bread and butter, expand it at that time to lead management and conversion.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Such an important topic. But before we wrap it up, before I have Danit wrap it up, any last comments or remarks on anything, Jessica?
I don't think so. No notes.
Okay, perfect. Love
great.
it. So yeah, can you just close us out on what you were saying with this topic in terms of diversifying your marketing agency's revenue streams, Danit?
Absolutely. So I think the most important thing here is, we keep talking about the value. I think that we should change the name of this of this topic to just value. But we've been talking a lot about the value that agencies need to prove in a short time, right away. And so I think this leaves a great opportunity for agencies to not pivot. It shouldn't be thought of as a pivot, but should be looked at as a way to expand. If we offer one thing really well, how can we expand on that and build on that to offer different diversified services that would capture more business and keep more business around for the long term? So for us, it's obviously lead management into business management, but it can be in many different forms. Just a matter of understanding what's my value, what is the main thing that I know how to offer and I know how to do well, and how can I expand on that?
Amen, sister. I hear that. Well, thank you both for these like awesome marketing topics. I'd still love to hear from the audience. If you're tuning in, let us know what you think about all this. Keep us honest. What's your take? But before we wrap up, we've got to do the guru of the week. Ooh, ooh, the guru of the week. So per usual, we'll pull myself out of the screen and ask Danit and Jessica to share why we should go follow their gurus of the week and who these gurus are.
That's my favorite part. So my guru of the week is Danielle Hughes. She is a dear, dear friend of mine and just so happens to be extremely active on LinkedIn. She is really a leader in personality brand, which is not to be confused with personal brand. She really has helped corporations, teams, individual founders really understand that true value differentiator and to stand up strong and be clear in how you write that and how you say that. So definitely go check out Danielle. She also, I never subscribe to newsletters because I don't want to read most of them. And Danielle's is one of them that I actually do read. They're funny and witty and they're just wonderful. So definitely go check her out.
All right. Sorry for the cough. I am going to have to go with Todd Handy. He is also very active on LinkedIn and he really works with media companies and agencies to really, grow the agencies, grow the media company and drive digital transformation. So I think he's got a lot of great insights on his LinkedIn page. I really hope you check him out.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing about that. I'm going to go follow both of those gurus and shoot, maybe we can get them on the show. Always love to meet new gurus out here, but this has been an excellent episode. Before we go, we do still need to dig in on a little bit more of each of you, who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? Danit, could you please let people know?
Absolutely. So vcita developed a business management solution for small businesses, but our main channel that we work with is through partnerships. And we partner with marketing agencies, as I mentioned prior, to help them unlock revenue streams, diversify their revenue streams, and really hold on to a stronger segment of the small business market. So if you're interested in having a conversation or finding out more, you can head to intandem.vcita.com. Vcita is VCITA. And you can definitely find out more or just head to vcita.com. You can also get to Intandem through there. And we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to help any agency out there that's looking to really expand and gain a stronger hold on the SMB market.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing about that. And Jessica, same for you. We'd love to learn more about you, who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have the Full Tilt side and the Her Brand & Co side. So I'll speak for the Full Tilt side. Full Tilt is a marcoms agency based in Atlanta, Georgia, but we have clients all over the world, actually. And we like to say that we work with momentum organizations. So we work with brands who are seeing momentum, have momentum, and our role is really to help them communicate with the people that matter to them. So whether that's an external audience through external brand work, or it's an internal audience through internal recruitment, internal comms, engaging with employees, working on their training programs, et cetera, to get employees more engaged. So we'd love to work with organizations who are interested in doing those things. And then on the Heartbreak & Co side, we want to work with women entrepreneurs who are typically solo founders who find marketing extremely overwhelming and who want to feel confident in what they're doing and do less and make more. So we offer a free educational platform. And we also offer a affordable subscription for early stage founders to get access to our agency team so that they can actually work with a real human and really learn how to do their marketing the right way.
I love that. We love working with real humans too. Thank you both so much for sharing that and for being here on this episode. This has been such a great conversation. Everyone in the audience should absolutely go follow both of you. It's been a great episode. And next week, we have another awesome episode planned. We will be talking to Erica again. She's coming on the show. She's the CEO of Blue Planet Optics. So they're doing things with like recycling contact lenses. And then we've got Lisa Benson. We haven't had her on the show. She's the founder, says ounder, but we'll have to edit that, founder and CEO of DeBella DeBall Design. So looking forward to bringing both of them on next week for another amazing conversation here on WinsDay. But Danit, I'm sorry, and Jessica, thank you both again for coming on, and have a happy Wednesday, everyone.
Thank you so much.